to see. And I was wondering if it's only me. Do you miss me at all? 'Cause I'm still waiting here all alone for you to remember it all. I'll never get over you. Don't forget our Do you miss me at all? 'Cause I'm still waiting here all alone for you to remember it all. I'll never get over you. Don't forget our love. Do you miss me at all? 'Cause I'm still waiting here all alone for you to remember it all. I'll never get over you. Don't forget our and self-confidence will be put to the test. Imagination of a dreamland existing in your mind for a matter of time. It's a taste of exhilaration, it's hard to shake and it makes your heart break. a state of euphoria. In a state of euphoria. When it starts to evaporate, there's more than you can take. It may be harder to maintain, but you'll get stronger every day. Not everything's ordinary. When things start to feel too heavy, flick the switch, you'll be okay. It's a state of euphoria. It's a state of euphoria. It's a state of euphoria. Oh, it's a state of euphoria. Oh, it's a state of euphoria.
Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good wherever you are. Welcome to, let me unmute your microphone. There we go, Rich. I mean, nobody.
Nobody.
So welcome to Freer Talk Live. It is a little after show that we like to do usually Friday nights, but Mark and I did one on Sunday night, so we can just kind of do it whenever, whenever we feel inspired to do one. And for those of you who are new to Freer Talk Live, it is open phones, just like Free Talk Live is, but without that pesky FCC in the way.
Fuck the FCC.
There you go. So you can say shit and all kinds of things like, you can't say on the radio. There's just a couple things that the streaming services don't want you to say. So don't be racist. We don't like that anyway. Really, beyond that, I mean, you can talk sex on these things. You can talk, you can talk dirty or whatever. I mean, whatever you want to say. Curse words, no problem. So it's, it's pretty much an open format, more free. So we call it Freer Talk Live.
Mm-hmm.
And so welcome. So we do have the chat rooms in front of us, and we have streams simultaneously on both DLive and Twitch. So we're in both of those chat rooms, plus also monitoring the Discord chat as well. So if you want to interact with the show, you can, in addition to calling in at 603-283-6160 or via the Discord on-air call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm, you can just type into the chat rooms. So Jaded Porcupine says, I've been watching Free Keen court videos all day. Got me fired up to prep from fighting my speeding ticket.
Nice.
Ooh, tell us more about that, Jaded Porcupine. Have you fought a speeding ticket before? Is this your first time fighting a speeding ticket? Because you're probably going to lose. Just want to give you, fair warning in advance. You're probably going to get found guilty. And, of course, depending on which state, which jurisdiction this is, they will, in some cases, hit you even harder when you lose because you'll then have to pay what they call court costs. And in New Hampshire, we have the benefit of not having court costs per se, but they still have what they call a penalty assessment here. So they do kind of have court costs, but it's not called court costs, and it's not as bad as court costs are in most places.
Mm-hmm.
Here it's, I believe, a 24% fee that they add on top of whatever fine it is that they've given to you.
It used to be a 20% fee.
That's right.
Back in the day. It might be 24 now because I had heard it had gone up. But the interesting thing about that was that the
you're hearing.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was logging into DLive. Okay, remind me what I was talking about.
The fees, the 24 versus 20.
Yeah, the standard fine for getting possession of marijuana in Keene it was always $350.
Mm-hmm.
So when you add 20% to that, what do you get? $420.
Mm-hmm. It was so funny. So what they ended up doing was it became like $435 or something like that, or $430. Like
that's probably just so we couldn't laugh at them anymore about $420 fines.
It was hilarious. So you're probably not going to win the speeding ticket trial, but what you can do is you can make it tough on them. You can make it so they have to actually do some work to get their conviction, because most people, when they get a speeding ticket, they just take the plea, and when you pay the fine, you're taking a plea. It's not the same thing as cutting a deal with a prosecutor or whatever, but you're taking a guilty plea when you pay a speeding ticket and you cut a check. But if you demand a trial, you get to go to court. You get to spend time. Now, of course, this wastes your time as well as theirs, but it does make it so they have to actually make a case. They have to call witnesses. They have to go through the whole rigmarole, the whole process to get their conviction. They'll get the conviction almost always, unless their witness doesn't show up, which
sometimes they don't.
It happened to me once.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all you have to do is motion to dismiss. If the witness doesn't show, just motion to dismiss. I forget what the reason is, but you don't need to know all the legal terminology. It's like, well, the witness isn't here, and then the judge should throw it out.
It's lack of evidence.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a good thing. And sometimes it turns up they screwed up. And going to trial, I mean, it's dangerous to go to trial on criminal offense matters because they'll hit you worse if you go to trial and lose. But sometimes even that is worth it. I mean, one thing that happened because I went to trial is there's now video of my snitch testifying against me on YouTube.
That's right. Richie was his name?
Yeah, Richie the Snitch.
What was his last
Richie
name?
DuPont. And I don't know where he is, but
probably nowhere good.
You know,
Karma's caught up with him.
I'd definitely pay $1 for a picture of somebody punching him in the nose. But the
and we got to question the fucking the FBI agent.
Yeah, and we got to question the FBI agent. He wanted to stay anonymous. They wouldn't let him. The actual cops who worked for the narcotics task force wanted to testify behind a shield.
Yep.
We fought it. They had to testify openly. And so that kind of thing, you're imposing various costs on the government. It's got to cost $10,000 an hour to run a courtroom, all told. So if you waste an hour of that courtroom's time and get a $200 fine, they're losing money.
Especially if you don't pay them.
Especially if you don't pay them. And that's another thing. I say, no, I'm going to jail.
Yeah, I never
sometimes.
pay. I've never paid.
Yeah.
The whole time I've been here, every time I've gone to court, been hit with whatever fine, never paid it. I'm willing to go sit in jail, but I'm also willing to do community service. And in New Hampshire, we have the benefit of being able to do activism as community service, which is pretty fucking sweet.
Right.
That's pretty awesome. So Jaded Porcupine says it's his or her first time fighting. Even if I lose, fuck 'em. At least I tied up the court.
Yeah.
Says I got courtroom scripts from Mark Stevens. Oh boy.
Nice. Get somebody to go with you and videotape this. We want to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, the Mark Stevens stuff is so entertaining, and it's so rarely recorded. There's so little video of this stuff being tried, and you know, when I've done it, I honestly don't know it, you know, like the back of my hand. So I'm not the best at doing it.
Right. You need to be doing it from memory. You need to be able to.
It's hard.
I think that works well. I've seen some really impressive videos of people who represented the Moorish nation.
Oh, the Moors.
And if you don't remember the Moors, they were one of the kings who came to visit Jesus was supposedly a Moor. And they were a black tribe in the Middle East. And so they will make claims very similar to the sovereign citizens and the other jurisdiction questioners because it runs through many groups. And so I would study them, and the more variations you have on the theme, the more you can confuse them, the better.
And if you're doing it in front of an audience, that's always good too.
Yeah.
Of course, if they know who you are, they'll make you wait till the very end of the day and then put you on when no one else is there.
The other thing that I can tell you that's very satisfying is making the audience laugh and, you know, taking some of the seriousness. And I've done that a number of different ways. I remember I had a violation of probation hearing where, you know, the guy's talking about I picked up an iron bar and drove off 3 attackers. So they charged me with being a felon in possession of a weapon and tried to violate my probation. And so my lawyer's saying, so there he is standing there with faced by 3 attackers who are younger and bigger and stronger. And at that point I'm like, hey. And that got a good laugh out of the jury.
Was it you or
audience?
Was it you or Emperor Evan who did the joke on the stand or whatever, the front of the courtroom, where if you're happy and you know it, shake your chains or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that was me. Judge Burke set bail at $5,000 for me, and he said, "What do you think? What do you think of that?" And I was already in jail, and I was wearing shackles, so I rattled my shackles. I said, "If you're happy and you know it, rattle your chains." So he doubled my bond, which is okay. I wasn't going to pay it anyway.
Yeah. God, there's some good moments.
Oh, that was great. See, yeah, we've got to document all this stuff. There should be like.
Well, we did.
We haven't documented all. We haven't gotten all the documentation in one place. There's no place where you can sit down in 3 hours, absorb the story of Free Keene.
You can. It's too long.
Well, that's the thing. We've got one installment, which is Derek J's.
Right, but that was a whole year, and that was 2 hours, an hour and a half.
Right, but that was a year to do the performances and the editing of the video.
No,
right?
It basically covered an entire year of activism in Keene.
Well, the thing is, we've already got videos of 10 years of activism, so we don't have to create new content. We just have to cut up what we've got and document it.
You can't boil down Keene easily into 2 hours. I mean,
no, you can't.
You're talking about more than a decade's worth of activism here that goes beyond when we showed up.
Huh.
I mean, it was it's been fun.
Well, maybe I'll write an epic poem.
You know what we need to do is get an interview with Judge Burke after the fact. Retired Judge Burke, and have him kind of reminisce about his favorite moments or whatever.
Oh,
Wouldn't that be funny?
Would be funny. Or at least send him a letter saying we're thinking of doing a movie about Free Keene, and we wanted to see if, or no, the thing to do is have somebody contact him who's from the news media and have him play it like they're hostile to us, and they're making this movie to document what idiots we are.
I don't know.
And then
the thing is, with people like him, you never really know what they really think, right? Like, they're playing a role,
right?
His role is district court judge, and he has to do certain things as a district court judge in order to keep his job. And one of the things that kind of early on led me to think deeper about him was when the first pirate radio station here in Keene — we've had 4 of them over the years, and it's been a long time since we've had one — but when the first pirate radio station went off the air, it had been on for I think 8 or 9 months. So it had a long run. The shortest one we had was 2 months. So there was a big range between how long these things had lasted. The first one lasted for a long time. And Mark Edge, my co-host, regular co-host on Free Talk Live, used to go to the YMCA and work out at their gym or whatever. And Judge Burke was also a regular workout person at the YMCA. So Mark was sort of acquainted with him because of this. And so they were, they weren't workout buddies or anything, but they were in the same gym together, and they saw each other, and they were cordial and said hello, and maybe had friendly words, or how's the weather today, that kind of small talk or whatever. Station got taken off the air after the FCC came in, and by the way, that video is still online of me and Sam Dodson confronting the FCC agents.
Oh, I want to see that.
That's a good one. I could probably pull it up here, and we could.
Let's watch that.
We could watch it. Anyway, so
maybe this can be our Keene retrospective. We'll go through all our videos and go, "Oh my God, that was so much fun."
It is fun to watch these videos. I gotta admit, because they're so old, a lot of them. It's I don't remember everything that happened. It's like watching them for the first time again in a lot of cases. So anyway, the station got taken off the air because the FCC started sniffing around, and the operator decided they wanted to stop, which is usually how it goes. And Mark's in the gym at the YMCA, and Judge Burke apparently said something, came up to him and said, "Hey, what happened to the radio station?" Now, what conclusion would you draw from a question like that?
Either he was listening to it or he heard from somebody who was.
I think he was listening to it.
Yeah.
I think he was a listener, and it went off the air, and he was genuinely wondering what happened.
Huh.
And he knew who to ask, right? Like, you talk to the radio guy, you talk to Mark Edge, ask him what happened to the station. And so that was like my first indicator of like, well, maybe there's more to this guy than, you know, than we've been led to believe, or that he lets on in sort of a professional apparatus. And one of the things I've also noticed about bureaucrats is that when you do stand up for yourself, when you go to trial, when you don't just kowtow to the man, they seem to respect you to some extent. It's not something I'm seeking. I'm not seeking their respect. I'm not interested in it. I don't really care that whether, what they think about me. I just want to be as principled and as free as possible. But the parking bureaucrat, Linda, who's like this sort of gruff, angry woman, one of the parking bureaucrats, she changed her demeanor completely towards me after we went to our first trial together. When I first got a parking ticket and we went to trial, she used to be just this, nasty cunt. And then after the trial, she became so nice.
Really?
She became my buddy. She was like super friendly, would always smile.
She said hi to me last time I saw her. And
did she recently?
I always, when I was out Robin Hooding, I wouldn't harass her or anything, but I would always, if I saw her, I'd say top of the morning to you and just keep going. And so I saw her as I was walking by just a couple of weeks ago, and I said, top of the morning to you, and she said hi. I was like, wow, because usually she just turned around and stomped away.
Right. Well. So the rest of the Linda story is that her and I were like buddies. She was super friendly to me, but once the city filed their lawsuit, then she became super cold and super nasty to me. So it was almost like she was under orders to not be nice. It was like she'd been talked to and was like, you can't be friendly with these people.
Right. Right. So, it would have made their lawsuit look bad.
But I think the same thing was true of Burke. When I got arrested the first time for disobeying him or whatever, his and I relationship kind of changed after that. Whenever I'd see him out in public, he was always super nice and friendly. And a couple of years ago, when Isabel had her food truck, the Vietnamese food truck here in town that is now known as Fucking Great, that's what became Fucking Great.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, there's a whole other story to that, which we won't get into. But Judge Burke came out to the food truck one day, and this was as he was sort of retiring, like in the middle of becoming sort of semi-retired as a judge. And he and I kind of just caught up. We kind of chatted for a while, and I asked him how what he was up to, and he kind of explained that he was in a semi-retirement. So like we kind of have some level of a relationship with one another. I mean, it's a weird thing.
Yeah, and there's some people from the legal system. I haven't run into any judges or anything. I've got several of the public defenders will say hi to me because I'd be working on things in court or in jail. I'd be working on my legal defense, and anytime I saw a public defender walking through the jail to talk to somebody, I'd like pepper them with questions if I got a chance. So I got to know,
and most of them are decent around here.
Yeah, the public defenders that I've known were all decent and probably overworked, and some of them were really good at their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't defend what Burke did in so many instances. I mean, he was a horrible judge in a lot of cases, putting a lot of people in prison for contempt or jail for contempt and things like that. Yeah. And there's plenty of video of all the ridiculousness. But, these are human beings, these bureaucrats. This is one of the things that sort of has changed about me over time is being able to see the bureaucrats as humans, even though they're cold and in a lot of ways very inhuman when they're in their jobs.
And that's something that I struggle with. I go back and forth because there's a reason that the human mind, especially the human male mind, has the capacity to dehumanize others. And the answer to that is sometimes you have to. You have to dehumanize your attacker in order to be able to fight back effectively, because you can't be thinking about his wife and children are going to be sad if he doesn't come home from killing me tonight, because my wife and children are going to be sad if he does come home from killing me tonight. So you have to have that capacity. And, you know, it's funny, I hear people talk about Muslims and say, oh, they're not like us. They just live to hate us and kill us during
awful thing to
this
say.
was like World War II. But then I hear people saying the same thing about the Muslims, and I think to myself, well, that's what they were saying about the Japanese a few decades ago, you know, and it's that dehumanization. They're not like us. That's the thing that has to happen before war. And I don't know if we're going to war. The people in the government are going to war to some extent. I mean, I'm already at war with the government because, you know, they declared war on pot smokers in 1972. You know, I was 4 years old and I didn't want to be at war.
I guess it was the war on drugs, but I mean, it was illegal in the 30s.
Yeah, it was illegal back to the 30s. Nixon was the first to call it the war on drugs. He coined that phrase. And
drugs won.
Yeah. Well, we would like to issue our congratulations to drugs for the amazing performance that they have pulled off on the war on drugs, and we'd like to award them best competitor by a substance. Best competition by
it's a
substance.
war on the drugs. So the drugs, it wasn't a war in that the cartels or the drugs or whatever fought back. Because what I've always said is if the cartels wanted to fight back, there'd be some dead motherfucking DEA agents. If the cartels actually wanted to have a war, there'd be some serious carnage going on. There's no two-sided war. It is really a war on drugs. The cartels just absorb whatever losses they absorb, and they just keep moving on with business.
Well, it's war on drugs, but it's also war on people. You know, it's war on the people who use the drugs. And so not so much on the cartels, because, yeah, they could go down and kill all those guys if they wanted to, just like they took out Saddam Hussein. Is it more difficult to take out a small criminal gang than a country?
No. I'm saying the cartels could fuck some shit up.
Oh, yeah. Well, they could do some
If they wanted to start
damage.
targeting DEA agents and taking them out, it would be no big deal for them. They are well funded, and they have technology, and they could absolutely, if they wanted to, but they don't want to. They just want to do business. They just want to sell their fucking product, and I think it's easier for them to just absorb the losses. Oh, well, we lost a dealer. Oh, we lost a soldier. You know, we lost our foot soldier here, a lieutenant there. Oh shit, El Chapo's gone. Well, somebody else will replace him. Let's keep selling the drugs. They don't focus on the actual war. So it's a war on them, but it's not a war back.
Yeah, and
see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
if it were, the DEA agents would be fucking dying left and right.
That's definitely true. Although the flip side of that coin, there was a gangster in Miami, and I can't remember his name, but he was killed by a rival, and his wife ended up taking over the business, and she ended up being one of the most ruthless drug lords
this sounds like it'd make a
Miami.
good movie.
I think they have made movies about her. I can't remember her name. I know they've made movies about her. I've seen at least one. That's how I know this. But the thing is, she killed so many people.
Wow.
That the police
personally, or she had
them killed. I think she killed some of them personally.
Wow.
But she was so bloody in her reign that the other cartels killed her. I believe, to make
settle
her
things
stop,
down.
because the problem is that brings the police. You know, they could definitely do some serious damage to the DEA, but the DEA could also, the Marines could also do some serious damage to them if they were willing to, you know, just invade the country and kill anybody they encountered until they have the cartels. Then they can do an awful lot of damage there, and that might be the solution to it. But who would be in a much better position to fight back would be Americans, and, you know, and people who are drug users in America or drug dealers in America. If we shot back when the police came for us, you know, we're 12% of the United States population. They are 1.5%.
There was a time when I believed
I'm sorry, they're 0.5%.
Yeah, there was a time when I was that guy, when I was, you know, advocating for shooting back. I remember years ago, back when I was still in Florida at this time, I would fantasize about like the marijuana stores in California when the police were raiding them in the initial days when after Proposition 215 passed. In 1996, it took years for the sheriffs to stop raiding these places that were, you know, legally trying to sell medical cannabis. And my viewpoint back then was that they ought to just have private security shoot these fucking marauding cops coming in there, and that was my viewpoint. I've changed my views since then. I don't believe violence is the solution. But I can totally understand why people are pissed and why they would want to do something like that. I think in that case, from a moral standpoint, you're not necessarily wrong, but also there's another moral viewpoint that says that these are our confused brothers and sisters and that ultimately we're all connected together. And so when you do violence to them, you are essentially lowering yourself to their level, and you're doing harm to, you know, the whole, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and that may be true, but I'm pretty sure that if the founding fathers hadn't started shooting, we'd be speaking English right now.
Let's go back to the chat rooms here. So X-Turd Ferguson in the Twitch chat says, was Judge Burke unseated or did he retire? He retired and was in a state of semi-retirement for some period of time. I don't know if he still is semi-retired. He may be fully retired at this point. Semi-retired meaning that, you know, if the current judge, who's actually a female now in district court, and she's actually way better than Burke from what I've seen, if she needs a day off, then they would possibly bring Burke in to kind of do a sit-in, to do some fill-in work. Despite all of the terrible things that Judge Burke did as a judge, like arresting a demo for simply walking up a stairwell and asking him questions and charging him and putting him in a jail cell.
That was the worst thing he ever did from my point of view.
It's one of the worst for sure. I mean, arresting people for wearing hats is pretty bad too, and, you know, petty and awful.
Yeah, true.
But
the thing is, that was the only time. See, I can look with respect at a man who lives by his own espoused code, even if his code is crap.
Yeah, but it's arbitrary. It's just arbitrary power. I mean, there's no code there.
It is arbitrary.
He's got men with guns, so he can tell to do whatever he wants.
But the thing is, in every other case, what Burke did was, according to the law, I think, as he understood it, even though we believe that the law was wrong.
Well, he was outside of the courtroom in that instance. So,
yeah,
right,
that was the one time that I saw him lie, break the rules. He said, this man just threatened me. Nobody threatened him.
That's
it
true.
was a lie. We can, let's play, you want to play the video? It's a quick one.
I've got the FCC video pulled up.
Okay.
For those that haven't seen it, just go watch Victimless Crime Spree.
Do they have that clip in Victimless Crime Spree?
The whole.
Okay,
the
great.
one thing I love about Victimless Crime, I mean, there's a lot to love about it, but one of my things that is my favorite about Victimless Crime Spree is that it is a true, I would say, as accurate as possible, given the video footage we had back then and the retrospectives of an entire year's worth of activism in Keene. It is focused on Derek J, and he is the star of the film, but Adamo and you and me and Meg McClain. I mean, there's all these people who are in this thing, and I think it does a great job of really telling and really keying you into the zeitgeist. I feel like even though I lived through it and I can't watching the movie give it a true newbie's perspective, because I have all sorts of perspectives on it, I still feel like it transmits that zeitgeist so well. The Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree is exactly what it was like to be in Keene at that time. And it's perfect.
Yeah. And it was an amazing time. I mean, I just, it was the only time in my life when I really felt like I didn't know what the future looked like. You know, and which is good, because when I do think I know what the future looks like, it's kind of
wrong.
1984. If you want to know what the future looks like, imagine a boot stomping down on a human face forever.
Yeah.
Not the way Vermin Supreme wears his. He wears his.
I mean, the boot ultimately wins in the victimless crime spree, but it looks really ridiculous.
Yeah,
it looks really fucking ridiculous.
And the thing is, I don't see it as necessarily winning. I mean, we're still here. We're still fighting. We've retrenched. We're changing tactics.
What I
but
mean
a guerrilla war has to. Guerrillas can't stick with the same tactic all the time, because the other side has an infinite amount of resources to fight them.
And
that comes back to the dark web.
They have the same plan, right? Like, we can change our plans, but theirs is always the same system.
And it takes them forever to change it.
Yeah. It's the same fucking slow-ass fat bureaucrats. It's the same stupid, arbitrary fucking rules. I mean, if anything, it's the fact that it can be arbitrary, but still, it is within a certain framework of and it's ridiculous. And that's the one thing that I think that we've done here exquisitely well over time, regardless of whatever the critiques are of this activism was bad versus this activism wasn't perfect, is we've allowed the government goons to show themselves for who they really are, and show it crystal clear, because we've had it from multiple camera angles, and we've published that shit, and anybody who watches it is going to, I think, come out, not just Victimless Crime Spree, but any of these videos in general, of the people in Keene standing up to these petty fucking bureaucrats, that it transmits the message that these are just people, and they are, wielding arbitrary power, and they are acting in a ridiculous manner. And there's no way you could watch Victimless Crime Spree unless you were a total statist and not find the government to be absolutely ridiculous. I don't think.
I would certainly agree.
Yeah.
As Shepard Book from Firefly said, government is but a body of men, usually notably ungoverned.
So here's the video you asked for, Rich. This is the FCC. You've not seen this one, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so this takes us back to, looks like December of 2010. So it was probably a little chilly out.
Oh, I was barely in Keene then. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
No, this would have been...
I was in the middle of the 420 rally.
This would have been after the initial 420 rallies.
After the initial ones, but like a month after. So we were...
this was 2010. That was 2009 was the 420.
2009 September. This was what month in 2010?
December 2010.
Oh,
so more than a year
so it's
later.
14 months later.
Yeah, more than a
year
year
later. And it's December, so I don't know what I was doing that year.
Yeah, so this would have been just before the Victimless Crime Spree. Like, this is before Derek J. arrived. This was the Sam days. Let's call this the Sam Dodson days in Keene, and this was actually in Sam's neighborhood. We caught wind that without saying who was operating the radio station at the time, the pirate radio station, we caught wind that the FCC was sniffing around, and they were apparently talking to the neighbors that were in the area of where they believed the signal to be emanating from. So this is how they're gathering evidence, right? They're going around literally knocking on doors, asking questions of the neighbors. So if your neighbors like you, and if your neighbors are freedom friendly and they know about the radio station and they like it, all you got to do is let them know, don't talk to these assholes. That will, if they talk to them, then they're just helping them. So word got to us that the FCC agents were prowling around, and this is what happened.
What's that? Cut what off? Yeah. Why is it you guys don't want to talk on camera? You got something to hide?
No, can't do that. I got a visual on you. That's fine. You got a visual? That's good. Good for you.
They
so what is it you guys think you're out here doing today?
Yeah, was that guy just walking into him trying to intimidate him, or
they were totally trying to intimidate us, and they were also trying to avoid being seen on the camera as well.
Wow.
Let's go on.
Do you think your job, that your life would be to go out and shut down independent media and make sure that state can retain its control on the government-owned monopoly media. That you guys would essentially be thugs for a violent criminal gang.
Man, I love Sam.
Yeah,
Calling it
I
like
miss
it is.
him.
Calling
I
it like
miss
it
the
is.
shit out of him.
You know, NPR actually supports the crackdown that you guys are doing because they like the monopoly, they like getting the state funds. All the FCC regulations, nothing but control. I know, because I used to work with the FCC.
He used to work
It's
for
all
who?
about
With the FCC.
Oh.
He was in telecommunications, I think, at some point.
control,
Okay.
making sure you can consolidate the industry to a few big players. That way they're easy to control. That's why, what is it, 6 companies own 90% of TV, radio, print.
You guys are kind of creepy lurking around the neighborhood like this.
Why is it y'all came on my private property without a warrant? Huh? Why is it you continue to refuse to identify yourself?
Wow.
It's always a good question whenever you're dealing with officious bureaucrats is to ask them who they are. They don't like that in a lot of cases.
Ask permission to bring the camera in.
Sir, can I film in here? Okay.
So no,
Don't
this is
answer
interesting.
any questions that you do with the
So that's
FCC.
Elm Street Market or
No.
High Street Market?
This was okay. So this is an interesting aspect to it. So the 2 agents from the FCC who were there trying to find a pirate radio station, as soon as we confront them, they basically fucking hightail it down the street to
And into a
High
store.
Street Market, into a privately owned convenience store. It's since closed down. But it's now a residence, but it was at the time a convenience store. And Sam did ask, look, it's private property, so we can't just barge in there with a video camera. It was interesting that they went to retreat there. I wonder what that was all about.
Well, maybe they were aware that it would. I mean, if you had followed them in with the camera, it's not unlikely that you would have been asked to leave. So maybe that was what they were hoping for, is that the store cashier and management would basically serve to buffer you from them. But yeah, that's pretty.
Isn't that interesting?
That is pretty amazing.
And this is something.
The house the green and white house is the one where my friend Veronica used to live. That was in the background when you started
really?
this conversation.
Yep.
Yeah, or started the video.
Yeah, Sam's house wasn't too far away either. So what's interesting also about this, Rich, is that whenever you hear about pirate radio in the news media, it's very rare, but every now and then there's like a news story about some pirate radio station that the FCC is targeting.
Mm-hmm.
You never see video. None of these operators ever have a fucking camera anywhere nearby when the FCC comes knocking or raiding or stealing their equipment or anything. I've never seen it. I mean, I've been a pirate radio enthusiast, if you will, for quite a long time and have researched the subject. And no matter what's, the story is about somebody being raided, there's never anybody who bothered to pick up a fucking camera and record any of it. And look how they reacted. They've never seen that before. Nobody's ever treated them like that. Yeah.
That may be something to do next time we do pirate radio, would be to build something that looks like an antenna, like somewhere a ways away from
decoy.
from where the thing is, and bristle it with cameras so we can get them trying to go, where's it getting a signal? I don't know. I can't figure it out.
Well, the most important thing is to have, if you're going to do a pirate radio operation, is to have a fucking camera nearby.
Yes.
Have it ready to go.
Absolutely.
And this was in 2010.
Yeah.
I mean, I was filming that on a BlackBerry. The quality is shit. I mean, it looks like garbage.
Wow.
But,
that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Ha.
Yeah.
That is amazing. But so we've talked about this before, and so the expectation though is once they sent the cease and desist letter, were you telling me that they've never actually collected that $10,000 a day?
They're supposed to be trying to now, for what may be the very first time ever, they're going after the station in Austin, Texas that was airing Alex Jones for many years.
Oh, interesting. An Alex Jones person. How many music pirate radio stations do you think there are
Almost
for every
all of them.
talk radio
Probably
one?
10 to 1.
And most of those are violating copyright. So what they're doing is technically illegal.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, Alex Jones, who I'm pretty sure Alex Jones will let anybody rebroadcast him, the Alex Jones station is the one they choose to take down. Isn't that interesting? Where there's nothing criminal. I mean, there's nothing even
There may not have been any other
law.
stations in Austin at that time.
Okay.
Pirate radio isn't that common. It exists. It's not uncommon, but it's not particularly common either.
Mm-hmm.
In Austin, this station had been around for many years. It had been around for 15 plus years.
Wow.
I mean, it was an epic fucking pirate radio station. And there's more to the story that, let me see what I can say about it. I happen to have met someone when I was in Austin last time that was involved in this particular radio station. And let's just say the FCC's barking up the wrong fucking tree. They are going to be up against these legal, like, basically Mark Stevens kind of courtroom conspiracy theorist kind of people who are ready to fight. They are ready to go to court. They're ready to completely, like, decimate the FCC on this. So,
wow.
If they don't pull their fucking case, I'd be shocked. If that case doesn't disappear from the docket, I'll be fucking shocked.
Well, groovy, because that's exactly what I was planning to do once we...
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Should I not? Then I won't.
I have no idea what you're talking about right now. But pirate radio is a really interesting thing. And if you have any questions or you want to join the conversation, our number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And you can call on our Discord server over at discord.lrn.fm. I had a really good interview with Johnny Rocket. You know who this guy is?
No.
Imagine like Johnny Ray, but with like long mutton chops. And basically, you've got this kind of like biker dude who lives in the Pacific. He lived in the Pacific Northwest. He's now in Arizona. Anyway, he does a podcast called. It used to be Johnny Rocket. Shoot, I forget the original name of it right now, but it's now Blast Off with Johnny Rocket. That's his new show.
Was he at PorkFest?
He was at PorkFest last year.
Okay, yes, I do know him.
You met him?
I've never seen him, but I chilled with him at PorkFest.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, I remembered him, and he's like, I'm Johnny Rocket. And I'm like, I'm Rich Paul. And he was like, you don't know who I am? I'm like, nope.
It's a nice feeling when someone doesn't know who you are. Keeps your ego in check.
Yeah.
You know. Johnny Rocket. So anyway, I was on his show, and he wanted to talk about pirate radio. So we did like a whole hour on just like the details and the nitty gritty of doing pirate radio, which was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah. Groovy. Yeah, that's going to be a...
Johnny Rocket.
I'd like to see that happen again one day.
Yeah, I would too. I fucking love it. I think it's great activism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, normally you're handing out flyers, you know, you're doing civil disobedience, you're doing media or whatever, but you're still not really reaching large amounts of people. A radio station reaches large amounts of people. Today, still, even with all the smartphones and shit, people still listen to radio when they're driving to work, when they're driving home, you know. It happens a lot.
So what exactly do you need to start a pirate radio station? You need an antenna, a cable?
Antenna, transmitter, cables, and an audio source.
Okay. And your audio source could be your phone?
It
playing
could be.
YouTube? I mean, that might not be the best way to do it. Or it could be you standing there with a microphone, or you could plug your boombox into it. Or your home stereo. So I would assume, I mean, with the right adapters. So how much would all that cost?
It depends. I mean, you can get cheapy Chinese transmitter, FM transmitter with an antenna for a couple $100 on eBay.
Okay. Will they transmit in English?
Yeah, but their R's and L's will be reversed.
Oh, okay. What do you call a woman with one leg?
I don't know.
Eileen. What if she's Chinese?
Irene.
Yeah.
So if you want to comment, jump into the chat room there. Thank you to Heartland Media subscribing with Twitch Prime for now 9 months in a row. Turd Ferguson says Meg McClain definitely makes the PP go a doing. Okay.
Meg is adorable.
Yeah, she's a pretty girl.
Yeah, she
No
is.
doubt. That's another one I miss. I miss having Meg here. She was the first Keene Activist Center manager way back in the day.
Yeah, I remember visiting her there that one time when she first opened, and there was just nobody there, and she put something out on Facebook, and I went down. That was the first time I went to the case.
I think she's in the UK now.
I think she is too, which is strange.
Yeah. Well, she's one of those who had to leave due to some family dying, and subsequently her family died, and now she's in the UK.
Yeah, she was caught up in other things, I guess. By the time that happened.
So yeah, if you want a whole detailed discussion about pirate radio, Johnny Rocket is going to have it. I don't know if he's put the episode out yet. I think he's still editing it or whatever. But it was fun. We had a really good conversation, really good time.
How long ago did you shoot?
This was this week.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, it was earlier this week.
Nice.
Well, you want to take a break?
Yeah, let's take 5.
All right, let's do that. So we are here. It is Freer Talk Live. We do have the chat rooms open. There's not a whole lot of chatting going on. But y'all are welcome to contribute if you want. Otherwise, we'll just sit here and talk about shit. We will ramble. And coming up, I think we have dark web stuff to discuss. That's the show prep we brought to the table. Though Freer Talk Live doesn't have to rely on prep if you want to join us. Usually we wing it. Usually we just kind of talk about whatever. But every now and then we do have something to talk about. And what better time to talk about the darknet markets than on Freer Talk Live? So that's what's going to happen here. We're going to come back, and you can join us here 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Or you can call on our Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. We'll exit here with some Cartel, which is a trance artist. Wait a minute. Sorry about that. All right. So here it is, and we'll be back with more Freer Talk Live in moments. hours on D Live and 14 on Twitch, 9 on D Live. Welcome to Freer Talk Live with Ian and Nobody. It's good to have you here, Nobody. Oops, I'm terrible about this. Now I can hear you. Try that again.
Yep.
Now we can hear you. You got to say that again, though, because I had your mic muted.
I can't remember what I said.
I said it's good to be here.
It is good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're back, man. It's been great having you on, and great having you on more often.
Yeah,
and,
I'm glad I'm back too. I lived in Ann Arbor for a year, and it's so full of statists.
Is there a big contrast between here and there?
Oh God, it's like night and day.
Really?
I mean, Michigan as a state is more liberal, but Ann Arbor is
I hope Matto
a
Blasto
college
is watching.
Town. Who?
Matto Blasto.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that
Tracy
name.
Ward's daughter. She's kind of like my mentor in this whole video streaming thing. She was the one who jumped in, and she's like, she's a libertarian chick.
Oh, okay.
She plays video games. She's super hot, and she's cool as hell. She lives in Ann Arbor.
My kind of girl.
She lives in Ann Arbor.
Well, geographically undesirable, but other than that, my kind of girl. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know a single libertarian. The only libertarian friend I had I had to make my own libertarian friend. I had to find somebody who wasn't a libertarian and work on him. And at least I could find one person that would listen to me and have a respectful discussion with me. And he's now pretty damn close to libertarian. But I couldn't wait to get back to New Hampshire, where I could say something that was meaningful to me without everybody in the room looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, I mean, here we have experiences with just the natives that are just so wonderful. I don't know how much we talked, if on the air at all, about the cool ass fucking window replacement, windshield replacement people that came over here. And I don't want to say anything, I don't want to identify them or anything like that, but man, we hung out with those people while they were installing a new windshield on the church car here, and it was just fantastic. They were so freedom loving and so cool and laid back, and we had a good time chilling out with those guys.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Had
Did I tell you I saw them at the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently they spent that crypto tip at the bar.
That's right.
So
they spent
nice.
the whole fucking amount of crypto I gave them at the bar, which is awesome.
Yeah. And great that they can do that. Keene you can spend a lot of crypto in Keene.
You can.
There's a lot of places where you can do that. One of these days I would love to try and do, I don't know if Keene is quite ready yet, but I'd love to do the Joel thing.
What do you mean?
Where wasn't he living only from crypto?
Yeah, but he's using the cheats. He's using the buying a gift card with crypto, and that's technically living on crypto.
Yeah.
But the business isn't receiving crypto.
The business isn't receiving the crypto, but it means that he doesn't have to have a dollar income.
I think he's still doing that.
I'm more interested in freeing me than
from the dollar,
than in making some corporation richer because they have crypto. I hope all the corporations sell their crypto the day they get it. Well, no, because that would reduce the value of the crypto. But
if a corporation is visionary enough to accept crypto, I hope they hold on to some of it. Good luck to them.
That's true. And there are some good ones. There's Overstock.com.
I heard he might be selling that.
Really?
Yeah, I heard he may be selling Overstock and going full crypto, going all in on fucking crypto.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And I heard he's coming to PorkFest again. So
he's coming to PorkFest?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This year?
Patrick Byrne. Mark ran into him. So when Mark came back from Japan and he was at the Boston airport, he ran into Patrick Byrne from Overstock.com.
Wow.
Yep. Small world.
Isn't that a crazy thing?
Yep.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That really is. So yeah, that's somebody I really want to meet.
You never met him? He was at like 3 or 4 different pork fests.
I may have met him.
I know Bo Davis smoked a fucking bong with him.
Okay, I may have met him when I was fucked up, or met him and not recognized his name.
Right. Right.
You know, that would be kind of funny, but yeah, I would love to see some of these libertarians with deep pockets starting some big crypto projects. You know, there's so many things that need to be done. And the dark web has been in a sad state. We looked at this last night, and it was kind of depressing. I had to have a glass of wine. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have a glass of wine.
All right,
now.
go right ahead.
You want one?
I've actually got a beer. I started with a little bit of wine, so I'm good. The old rule that my ex-girlfriend taught me, Julia, she taught me 2 or too much, and it's a damn good rule, because if you've ever had the problem with drinking too much, and I'm sure most of you have, if you've drank, you probably had that happen to you at least a few times, that 2 or too much is the idea of, well, you know, if you've had too much, you're likely going to forget how many drinks you've had, which usually leads to having more, and that leads to having too much. Anyway, the idea is if you had 2 drinks, you've had your first drink, and then you know you're having your second drink, right? Like, you're not going to lose count at that point. And so after you've had 2, you're done. And that's that. Now, of course, you know, how big the drinks are, that's a whole other question. And what you're having 2 of is another question. But either way, generally as a rule, if you only have 2, you're not going to get too fucked up. You're not going to puke. You're not going to wake up with too bad of a hangover or whatever. Rich just walking back in. I was talking about my ex-girlfriend's rule of 2 or too much. You know, this is something I never really learned moderation with alcohol when I was younger, and I ended up having some pretty bad experiences as a result of that, as many people do. And so her rule is 2 or too much, which is a very responsible way of drinking.
2 drinks.
Yeah, you never have more than 2, no matter what it is, no matter how hard the drink or whatever. You never have more than 2.
Right.
So your second drink, you can't lose count. You haven't lost count, right? Like, you know, you're on your second drink. That's just your last drink. That's it. Yeah. You stop there. And that's worked. It served me very well. So 603-283-6160. Chat rooms are dead, but people are still watching. We were talking about the Wall Street market last night specifically, because that's the most recent victim of the federal government and international policing organizations.
International terrorists have attacked a peaceful market.
One of the best markets, actually. One of the things that Wall Street market did differently, even though allegedly they exit scammed the market, one of the things they did differently was they had Monero transactions, and they were able, I don't know if they were the first to do Monero, but they were the first to do it right, where there was no wallet on the site, where whenever, if you were to make a purchase, you would have to send the Monero specifically to cover that purchase in the exact amount of that purchase.
Right.
Whereas older sites like Silk Road had wallets on the site that you had to load with cryptocurrency, at that time Bitcoin. You had to load with Bitcoin. And of course, you always had to load more than you were expecting to use because, you know, prices can change. So there had to be kind of like a buffer.
You don't want to have to send another transaction to send 3 more Satoshi.
Right. So you'd have to load more. So there was always a balance. The site always carried, you know, people had balances in their wallets. And so the sites would exit scam almost, you know. If they didn't get raided, they would exit scam, basically. Over all these years of these darknet markets, and you know, I'm very interested in things like this, so I've learned about it, and that's what Wall Street brought to the table that was different. Was we don't have they didn't have wallets. I didn't mean to say we. Wasn't involved.
I didn't do it.
I don't know how to program. I know Turbo Pascal 5.5, and that's about it.
Wow, I used to use Turbo Pascal 5.5. But I also do many other languages.
But yeah, what they brought to the table was they got rid of the wallets from the site. And it was whenever somebody would purchase something, and of course you could buy legal things on this marketplace, but whenever somebody would purchase a thing, it would say, this is the amount that needs to be sent in to the escrow. So they would only hold in escrow the exact amount of that sale. There was never a balance that one could carry with the site. That was just not a possibility. It was just whatever it is that person was buying at that moment. So if the site were to get raided and taken down, the maximum loss would be whatever was in escrow for the current sales at the moment, which probably is a significant sum, but at the very least it didn't have that extra, like, crypto sitting in a wallet that could just be taken factor.
Crypto crumbs.
Yeah, it wasn't there. And so, I felt like that meant they would be less likely to exit scam because they'd set the site up that way, but the news reports were claiming that Wall Street Market was conducting an exit scam.
Well, basically, the only evidence they offered of that is that they moved some coin. And there are other reasons that they might have moved coin. Maybe they upgraded the wallet software,
or maybe
on
they
their
got
machine.
a tip that the
or
heat
maybe
was
they
on,
got a
and they
tip
shut shit down
and knew that and had no way of refunding. Well, I guess they could have.
No,
canceled
not
all
unless
the
your
escrows.
users have put some sort of refund address on their accounts, and if you're in escrow, they didn't have that feature. They didn't have that feature.
Okay, so I don't know. It's hard to say what happened.
I would say it's inconclusive as to whether or not they were exit scamming.
The fact that they were not custodial of the Bitcoin says to me that their original intent was not to
scam.
Exit scam.
I agree with you.
At the same time, I can tell you that being a drug dealer, every day, from time to time, or at least every once in a while, when I was doing it pretty seriously, and I asked myself every day, does it make any sense for me to keep doing this? And there was more than once that I was just like, I'm just gonna stop doing this. I'm just quitting. I'm quitting today. And the stress has to be a lot higher when you're dealing with, well, of course, I found out later when I was dealing with the FBI, the stress was a lot higher.
Duffman Sean is a big man who loves to drink. He says 2 or too much is equivalent to the bitch-ass Navy drinking rules when I was in, which apparently are 00130 underage drinking, 0 DUIs, 1 drink an hour, 3 drinks per night. He says that's how lightweights and pussies who shouldn't drink live their life. Well, all I know is I can drink enough to get a little tipsy, have a good time, and not be puking over a fucking toilet bowl. So it's all good for me.
It all depends on what you want. If I really want to go out and get pissed drunk, I'll go out and get pissed drunk. That's usually not my goal.
Yeah. Yep. So here's the news from TechCrunch. The major darknet marketplace known as the Wall Street Market has been seized and its alleged operators arrested. This is, by the way, 3 weeks ago. In a joint operation between European and U.S. authorities, millions in cash, cryptocurrency, and other assets were collected, and the market now shut down. How investigators tied these anonymity-obsessed individuals to the illegal activities is instructive. The 3 men accused of running Wall Street Market, one of the larger hidden service markets operating via the Tor network, are all German citizens. Thibaut Laus, or Luce, I'm not sure how you pronounce these names, Jonathan Kalla, and Klaus Martin Frost. Several vendors from the market have also been charged, including one who sold meth by the kilogram. The investigation has been going since 2016.